I can only disrespect draft capital so much. At the 301, it's Jalen Polk, who goes 50th in Chris Trapasso's CBS Sports mock, 7 rounds. You want to find it, link in the description once again. Part 1 above. The Philadelphia Eagles are just not a good landing spot for Jalen Polk. For a receiver, for a running back, even later in the rounds, it's just a crowded situation. And what can we buy, or what are we trying to buy here with these rookie picks, especially as you get into these later rounds? You want to buy upside, you want to buy relevancy. And so, especially in the first 24 picks, a Polk to the Philadelphia Eagles as wide receiver 3 just doesn't rise to that level as other players do. This is a tight end premium format, and at the 302, it's Theo Johnson. He goes top 197th to the Cincinnati Bengals. And so, look, I got to recognize this. I got to recognize the opportunity that Theo Johnson has. Had a nice combine, nice pre draft. And at the 3rd round, why not take a swing on tight end? This little tight end run continues at the 303 here with Cade Stover, who goes 110 to the LA Chargers. I got to recognize the spot, the opportunity that he has. This is a tight end premium format. And so this is the type of swing I am more than happy taking in the early 3rd round. At the 304 here, it's Cade Stover's teammate, Tez Walker now, who goes 105, a couple picks before him, just outside the top 100 once again. But we have to keep in mind, earlier in this mock, Adonai Mitchell, who was a first-round pick, of course, in this rookie draft, he goes 23rd to the LA Chargers. So you've got some rookies there, and that's the theme with this mock. A lot of double dipping at receiver for multiple teams here. I got to recognize Tez Walker and this opportunity that he has to really be a wide receiver too, potentially even better. I mean, who's to say Tez Walker can't surprise some people? We're just projecting at this point, and obviously the draft capital, a 23rd overall versus a 105 overall, is quite a difference. Nonetheless, I've got to respect, I've got to bet on the upside with Tez Walker here. We have to honor Javon Baker's draft capital here at the 305. He goes 73rd to the Detroit Lions, effectively going to be their wide receiver 3. You've got Amon-Ra there. Of course, you've got Sam Laporta. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs there. You've got David Montgomery. It's already a very complete offense as it is relatively. And you look at Jameson Williams potentially takes a step that we've all been projecting, but say he doesn't. Look, why not get a Detroit Lions receiver? No more Josh Reynolds there. It is relatively open in a receiver room standpoint. At the 305, I could understand a case really with a lot of these receivers if you want to interchange them. The receiver run continues with Roman Wilson here at the 306. We're talking about a guy that we mentioned the double dip with the Chargers and Mitchell and Tez Walker, while there's a double dip in the form of Ricky Pearsall and Roman Wilson. And so, of course, there's already Michael Pittman Jr. there. You've got Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, some guys that look, they're not just so value insulated from one of these rookies coming in and absorbing a decent role, some of their target share, so to speak. Roman Wilson, 82nd overall in the 3rd round, just not what you would have hoped. I think he's going to go higher than this. I'm really looking forward to see how many receivers go in the top 50, go in the top 64 in the 2nd round. Look, day 2, which of course the 3rd round is day 2. So these are still day 2 picks, which is really insane to say as we get into the 3rd round here. There are going to be an insane amount of receivers. Some are going to fall. And by virtue of this mock, it's Roman Wilson's, it's Javon Baker's. These are really nice value here in the mid-3rd. Back at the running back well here at the 307, it's Braylon Allen, who goes 88th to the Green Bay Packers. I know Josh Jacobs has a very weird contract, but I look at just the fact that they were even able, or willing, that is, the Green Bay Packers, to shell out a 3-4 year deal. It at least gets at some underlying sentiment, some belief that, wow, this guy hit the open market, didn't really expect it. We'll, of course, guarantee, well, for the most part, this first year, but we have every plan to have him beyond just 1 year. And so with Braylon Allen, I just don't see the upside. I look at it as a nice handcuff, but not too much beyond that. The running back run continues with Blake Corum, who goes 140 to the LA Chargers. Do you want to put him higher than this? Sure, go ahead. Totally your prerogative, I understand it, but you look at that room, you've got Gus Edwards there, you've got J.K. Dobbins. I think it's going to be quite the committee. And unless Blake Corum commands the bulk of those goal line, those prime touches, which I think that's what Gus Edwards has shown in his 10-plus touchdowns he can get in terms of a fantasy upside from that vulture territory, Blake Corum, I just don't quite see the upside. I don't love it, at least in this form of the investment of a day 3 pick. Call me a South Carolina homer with this pick here at the 309, but we talk about upside, we talk about potential opportunity, and the potential to really realize value that is well beyond this 309 draft capital. It's a Spencer Rattler who goes 81st, day 2 draft capital to the Seattle Seahawks. And Geno Smith is there, sure, but I think his days are relatively numbered beyond this next season. And so Spencer Rattler, you think about 64 plus different quarterbacks the last 2 years running. Spencer Rattler, look, I'm willing to bet on the guy. We're at the 310, and so if you want to put a Jalen Wright ahead of Allen, ahead of Corum, you totally can. He goes 123rd overall, though, to the Houston Texans. Can he have a role there as that true number 2 with a Joe Mixon? He could. Maybe what it looks like, or what it did look like with a Chase Brown in his sparing roles, but the potential one-off games or so that give you a chance to maybe sell high on a Jalen Wright in season. I think that's something that gets overlooked with these running backs in particular, as we just mentioned with Spencer Rattler on the quarterback position. If you want to flip it, mismatch any which way you want in the third round, I understand it. I understand your preference. We're beyond the most relevant, the top first, second round picks here. We're all just trying to take swings. For me, it's Jalen Wright here in this order because I just don't love what it means for Jalen Wright. And I think we have to brace for this in some sense of the word. For these running backs, the game of musical chairs, there were quite a few running backs in free agency that absorbed some roles, or at least that's how it looks. And so these running backs in the draft, where are they really going to find a home? You think of the Dallas Cowboys, who we'll get to them in a second. None of these running backs up to this point have gone to the Dallas Cowboys. Are they maybe just really buy low opportunities for you in your rookie drafts? They could be. But for me, I can't rise to the level of putting this crop ahead of anywhere more than the third round. Malik Washington, we're talking about a guy that gets top 100 draft capital going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 98th overall. This is pretty insane value here. You could say at the 311. Do they get a Brandon Ayuk? Let me know if you guys think he does get traded there. Already some weird Instagram or Snapchat stories about 6 days, and that's going to be crazy. I don't know what the hell is going to happen there. We know, expect the unexpected. Expect chaos, embrace chaos, and that's what we're doing to a certain degree here in this mock draft. Brendan Rice goes 312. He goes to the San Francisco 49ers at pick 94 in this mock. With the potential Brandon Ayuk trade, talk about opportunity, I could see the case to have him effectively at the beginning of this round, potentially end of the second. Getting into the last round here at the 401, it's receiver once again, and as a Washington receiver started off this mock at the 301, 401 it resumes with Jalen McMillan, who goes top 100. He goes 96th to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not the biggest Jalen McMillan guy. I am a Jalen Polk over McMillan guy. I just like what he could be at the next level a little bit more than Jalen McMillan. People love to cling to prospect profiles, what they did when they were 20 years old, what they did 2 seasons ago. I understand it. Everybody, we've got our own process. For me here, it's still honoring a top 100 receiver. Having one at the 4th round at the 401 here, it is pretty insane. It gets at the sheer numbers game that we have with these prospects. Aeneas Smith at the 402 here goes top 100 exactly to the Washington Commanders. They don't really address the position earlier in this mock draft. Why not take a bet on Aeneas Smith with a Jaden Daniels, possibly with a Drake May? Either way, I like the potential synergy of, well, a quarterback receiver in the same draft class, a CJ Stroud at Tank Dell, Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs. Not really the case with a Bryce Young, Jonathan Mingo. That's a whole other story. Nonetheless, here, Aeneas Smith, I got to take a bet on a top 100 receiver. You got to be wondering where the Cowboys picked their receiver, and in this, it's Frank Gore at pick 174. Is he really a competitor to Royce Freeman, to Rico Dowdle, to Deuce Vaughn? I don't really know, but I'll take a swing here in the 4th round on a guy that could very much have as good an opportunity as anybody here in these later rounds of your rookie draft at the running back position at least. Isaiah Davis at the 404 here is honestly one of my favorite sleeper picks. Running back out of South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, quite a program there at the FCS. Division I AA, if you want to call it level. Quite a frame, quite a physicality to be. Well, honestly, what we've thought of as a James Conner, his teammate now at 162nd overall to the Cardinals. But I think, look, Conner's only there for about 1 more year. And even if he gets hurt at one point in 2024, the Isaiah Davis show could possibly take off in Arizona. I look at his skill set. He could be a little bit of a receiving threat, but more so a little bit of a sneaky volume guy in terms of the carries that you could be able to give him. And I think he has the talent to make the most of the opportunity, however limited it might be. The 404, why not take this shot? The running back run continues with Aldrick Estime here at the 405, and I think, look, this is very well how your rookie draft's going to play out. There's going to be a huge run on running backs in your 3rd through 4th rounds. The musical chairs game isn't going to look so great. The draft capital, we're talking potential day 3 outside of the top 100. It's not going to be so convincing. Aldrick Estime, we're talking a guy that does go 142nd to the Carolina Panthers. You've got Hubbard, you've got Miles Sanders. Those aren't the craziest talents to compete with, and especially with a new coach, with a Dave Canales, who said, paraphrasing here, but watch how stubborn I can be running the ball. You look at how much he used a Rachaad White there in Tampa in his recent top 5 running back finish. Who's to say he doesn't fall in love with an Audric Estime as a guy that can really get a little bit of a workload relatively compared to those two guys in that room? Why not take the shot here at the 405? Bucky Irving, once again, we're talking RB here at the 153 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, their ETN is there, but I don't know how much of a role or to the degree to which ETN gets that 70+% workhorse role, so to speak, in that Jacksonville offense. I think, look, Bucky Irving, in a way, kind of like a mini ETN. So maybe it's a little bit redundant in terms of skill set. He can really be a pass catching threat, not so much true between the tackles, but Bucky Irving here, I've got to bet on the upside. These are prime handcuff territory. We'll talk about running backs. You talk about the beating that they can potentially take during the NFL season. If they just miss 1 week, it's wheels up for any of these running backs here in the 4th round. And why not take that bet? If you can potentially sell high on a spot start and somebody is in dire need of running back and you can get a 3rd round pick, you've already won the value play. Will Shipley here at the 407. He goes to the Vegas Raiders here. You want to talk about why he's so far down here? It's because Marshawn Lloyd went 206. He went top 75 effectively to the same team. And so with Will Shipley, look, I know he's got a dual skill set. And honestly, if he would go almost anywhere else where there isn't already a running back, at least a rookie running back who goes a lot higher, if there isn't a Zamir White there, I would absolutely be happy to put in a Will Shipley effectively where the Braylon Allen went in this class. But for me, Will Shipley, I just don't love the opportunity necessarily for him there in Vegas. But I have to recognize the talent to some degree. Jamari Thrash here at the 408, another one of the big value plays I like here. You're talking about a guy that goes 150 to the New Orleans Saints. Who do they really have there other than Chris Olave? Not really anybody. There's a path for him to be wide receiver 2. Not saying it's so likely, but there's a possibility. Some really sneaky good value here. A player to watch here, especially the receivers that go on day 3, a potential Puka type draft capital. Not saying there's bound to be another Puka. I'm just saying in terms of guys that offer some upside more than really what meets the eye on the surface. Similarly, Luke McCaffrey, he goes 121st to the Denver Broncos where his dad Ed played. You've got Sutton there. They traded away Jerry Jeudy. You've got Marvin Mims there. With Luke McCaffrey, I think he is a sneaky potential volume, potential Puka-esque. This is the territory we're getting into. I'm not saying he's going to be Puka again, but I'm just saying, talk about upside, talk about nice value. Here in the 4th, you really can't ask for much more. Going back to running back here, it's Dylan Laube here at the 410. He goes 155 to the LA Rams. For me, look, talk about Kyren Williams-esque draft capital. I don't see him being a threat to Kyren Williams. I see him being a nice handcuff, a nice backup, but this is draft capital to the point where Kyren Williams, I don't see him being truly threatened like I potentially have worried about in previous videos talking about picks that the Rams have that are much more significant than this top 100 picks. But why not take the shot on him, on this guy at the 410 who's in a very nice offense? And look, maybe it's a Kyren Williams injury away from being very relevant in fantasy. Similarly with Tyrone Tracy in Buffalo, you're talking about one James Cook injury away from being potentially featured in a nice receiving upside, rushing upside. Look, Tyrone Tracy, a deep sleeper who's very much worth a shot here at the 411. Mr. Irrelevant here, there's a couple ways we could go. I mean, you're probably wondering where the hell is Jatavian Sanders here. Well, look, he goes day 3 to the Baltimore Ravens. So you're telling me you want to bet on him when we've played this game already with Isaiah Likely? Why are we doing this to ourselves? So for me, at the 412 here, this is going to come as a surprise, I think, to a lot of people. I'm actually going quarterback here. It's going to be Michael Pratt, who goes 87th to the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, there's really weird stuff going on there, seemingly not committing to him after this year, and potentially is the Michael Pratt show in 2025. I know the Cowboys would love to hear that. Fans, as an Eagles fan, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing that whatsoever. Part 2, rounds 3 and 4, we continued out our Mach 9 with Mach 9.1 V2, so to speak. Let me know what you guys think of this value here in the 3rd and 4th round. Overall, guys, these are some nice value plays. There's still guys that you're going to be able to pick up after this draft if you don't have the picks in your undrafted free agency, so to speak. These are really nice receiver, running back, upside shots, as good as you could ask in these 3rd and 4th rounds. You're not banking on any starters, but you're banking on potential upside and potential paths to relevancy in Dynasty, and then potentially the opportunity for you to sell high or to actually see out some value for the long term. I will see you in the next one. Have a great one.